This episode of the Earth Hotel podcast is brought to you by CCA, the Corrections Corporation of America, the largest private corrections company in the United States, managing more than 65 correctional and detention facilities with a capacity of more than 90,000 beds in 19 states and the District of Columbia, celebrating over 30 years in business and $1.7 billion in annual revenue. CCA, because literally nothing in the world matters more than your own personal gain.
Of man's first disobedience, and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all our woe, with the loss of Eden, till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. Sing, heavenly muse, that on the secret top of Oreb or of Sinai didst inspire that shepherd who first taught the chosen seed in the beginning how the heavens and earth rose out of chaos. Or of Sion hill delight thee more, and Siloam's brook that flowed fast by the oracle of God. I thence thy aid to my adventurous song, that with no middle flight intends to soar above the Aeonian mount, while it pursues things unattempted yet in prose or rhyme. And chiefly thou, O Spirit, thou doest prefer before all temples the upright heart and pure. Instruct me, for thou knowest, thou from the first wast present, and with mighty wings outspread, dove-like, satst brewing on the vast abyss, and madest it pregnant. What in me is dark, illumine. What is low, raise and support, that to the height of this great argument I may assert eternal providence, and justify the ways of God to men.
Welcome back to the Earth Hotel podcast. We've got a great show for you this evening. Coming up is a piece called Oxy by Kyle Weems, our guest this evening. Followed by that will be Kick Shaza from Jackie Cotillard's upcoming album, Mung.
Oxy by Kyle Weems. Here it is now.
Welcome back. This is episode 12. Thanks for joining me again. This is a pretty music-heavy show. I'm trying not to do too much talking because I'm kind of sniffly and ill, and the heat's coming on and off, and I live in Alabama where it's 70 degrees one day and then 30 degrees the next 2 days. So I'll spare you my voice for the most part, but I want to reach out, anyone listening and anyone that you might know. We are seeking your sounds. If you have original music, artwork, sound samples, film, or poetry that you think would fit sweetly within our outfit here, or really anything else, send a streaming link or PDF for the plucking to theearthhotel@gmail.com. If you make music and you would like a balanced review and nuanced analysis of your work, without critical ratings and such tastelessness for free, let us know in the email and we'll discuss with you how to make that happen. We want to make locals and otherwise share their stuff. We want to make locals we want to help locals and otherwise share their stuff and fill their press kits. We remain oriented toward a staff of reporters and contributors to keep a week-to-week documentation of the Birmingham music scene in a deeper sense than advertising shows and featuring guests. If you are interested in using your talents to help us record the happenings here, email us above and we'll talk futureness. If you have anything to contribute to the show that you want featured on the show, please do that. And if you want to help me and this operation, whether it be blogging or writing and helping make written materials on the publishing side, if you want to help me print books, management of bands, talent, otherwise, coordination like that. If you want to be a reporter and go to gigs, at some point be reimbursed for going to gigs and reporting on the ins and the outs and how the dynamic changes and getting a week-to-week documentation in a deeper sense. theearthhotel@gmail.com. And on that same note, I'm planning on doing an art analysis coming up. If you have a piece of art of any kind that you would like me to talk about, I want to dig into the backstory and the content and who the performer is, and even something that you may think could qualify as art that isn't conventionally thought of as art, I would like to talk about. I'm not going to talk for too much longer. I'm just going to read you some dates. At the Syndicate Lounge, December 21st, that's a Wednesday, Sister Sniffle, the Ataris, and Me and My Knife are playing. The Ataris are a fairly popular out-of-state band, while Sister Sniffle and Me and My Knife are rather engaging local acts. So go see them. That's the Syndicate Lounge, 7 o'clock, December 21st. That's a Wednesday. There's going to be a cover, but it's never over $10. It's usually not over like $7. Friday, the 23rd, at Buck Mulligan's, 2011 Highland Avenue South, The Murder of Jane Crow. We're recording an album, something that's coming out later this year, is going to be recording that night. That's Friday the 23rd at 10 p.m. I played a show last Saturday at the Firehouse in Birmingham, and I met one of the Janes, of the two Janes in The Murder of Jane Crow. But Jane Crow was not the one that I met. I met the other Jane. Charming. I'll be glad to see her Friday. And I'll be there. I will be at almost all of these events, so you can avoid me. Die Hard Christmas is happening at the Syndicate on Christmas Eve at 8 p.m. By the way, I don't know if there's a cover at the Murder of Jane Crow show, but I would assume so, but come with money to drink and do all that other stuff. Die Hard Christmas at the Syndicate, Christmas Eve at 8 p.m. They're watching Die Hard and Die Hard 2, which are both absolutely Christmas movies. It's going to be a nice way to celebrate Christmas Eve if you'd rather not, can't, or otherwise with, if you need a family that's not your family, come to the Syndicate Lounge and be with all the lovely, nice people that work and frequent there. And it's a place of love. Also a place of love, you got to pick between these two things. In Bessemer, if you've never been to Gipp's Place, it is a legitimized, a real, honest-to-God juke joint where there's blues music and everybody brings liquor and booze for their beer for themselves and just has a great old time. Been there a few times before. There's a stage that you can see from like 3 different angles. It's a lot of space. It is an outside thing, but it's walled in. It's like a corrugated and wood structure, but it's well put together and it's warm and they've got heaters and stuff. It's fine. Christmas Eve, Mr. Gipp's, that's at 3101 Avenue C in Bessemer. It's a house venue. Gipp is an old man that plays guitar and sings the blues and has hosted music for quite a long time in the area. So go support him. It would be a great place to spend Christmas Eve. That's at 8:30 on Christmas Eve, 3101 Avenue C in Bessemer. BYOB, and don't go up there and fuck shit up. And then finally, The Secret Garden is a secret DIY venue in Birmingham that I'm protecting in their anonymity. They say ask a punk for the address, so do that. If you know a person that's in the scene, probably they're going to know where it is, so ask someone. So The Secret Garden, Monday, December 26th at 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Combat and Clout are two bands that start with a K, apparently disparate. Combat comes from DC, Clout comes from Florida, and then we have a group of local acts, Heavy User, Moral Authority, and playing their first shows, Rob and Narb. I have zero experience with any of these acts, but it would be a really cool thing. I'm going to go because I want to see this venue. I've never been here before. It's $5, 7 to 10 p.m., Monday, December 26th. Ask at a local punk where the Secret Garden is. That'll be a fun thing, and I'll let you know how that turns out for everybody. That's what's going on. Support your local people. Send events to me. I'm just going off of Facebook and what I know personally. If you've got something coming up and you're in the area, shoot me an email. Thanks for participating and thanks for being here again. Thanks for supporting the podcast in any way that you know how. Just tell people about it. If you're hearing this, help me get it out there. It's still early in this whole thing, but as we gain momentum and consistency, I'm hoping 50 episodes from now, we'll have a little rockin' house going. So, thanks. I am putting out an album definitely by the end of January called Mung. It's not that gross thing that somebody made up. It's a programmer term. I'm not a programmer, and I'm not really a computer person, as much as we are all becoming computer people. But it means modified until no longer good, or modified until not good. It's a collection of mostly instrumental pieces. I was working with the concept of disembodiment and shared experience that's not through sense. It's not a concept thing, but it's a collection of pieces, sound bites, whatever, that fit the certain kind of tone that I want. So that's Mung. You can find that on jackiecotillard.bandcamp.com and on theearthhotel.org. As soon as I get that finished, that'll be out soon. And then The Dizzy has our album out, Wrapped in Plastic. You can also find that on theearthhotel.org, and you can buy it at thedizzy.bandcamp.com. The Dizzy's going to be back next week, and then after that, I've got a friend of mine coming on to talk music. More podcasts, more shows. I've got several more lined up through the beginning of January, so it's going to keep on going. We're going to get into my interview with Kyle Weems in just a moment. First, I went to Disco the 16th, so Friday. We've talked about Disco before, Desert Island Supply Company in Birmingham. I went up there to get some live music for this show, and my laptop charger literally caught fire and blew up as I was trying to record the live sound. So I'm going to play my particular favorite from the evening, a band called Foiste. It's a Spanish word, means you were. Foiste is however you pronounce it.
Fuiste.
Is a band from Georgia, and they were fascinating. You'll hear them in just a moment. A song called Slow Burner, parentheses, Who's Your Destroyer. I asked them which song they wanted me to record out of their live set, and that was their closer, and that was the one they asked for. So here's the studio version of that song by their album. They've got a couple of albums out, a few short albums, and I think a longer one, and their most recent called Fire Drill. It's Foiste,
Fuiste.
Fuiste. .bandcamp.com. I've never seen a more mercurial use of pedals before. This guy was like jumping from lily pad to lily pad on his equipment. 2-second bursts of stuff, and then he just cut it out and put something else through behind this incredible frantic live thing that he was doing all the while. Really melodic, active bass, a lot of notes, but not that over-intellectual. It's a frantic energy, super interesting. So this is a song called Slow Burner. Right after that, we'll get into my interview with Kyle Weems.
Kyle Weems.
Kyle Weems.
Kyle Weems.
Who?
Kyle Weems.
Yeah, okay, Kyle Weems. That's right. Kyle Weems.
Kyle Weems.
Kyle.
Kyle Weems.
Kyle Weems?
Kyle Weems.
You're a working artist at this point.
Well, thank you. I have done a few commissions that I'm quite proud of, and it's actually nice to get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did an album cover for me, but that's not a thing that's out there yet. What was the earliest thing that you sold?
The first thing that I did was an album cover for my old friend David Mosher. He has a noise project called It Was the Sun. He likes to experiment with very harsh noise. He said, hey, I've got this new content. I want you to listen to it. Draw out what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have an idea. I don't usually start with an idea. So I did a sort of X and Y plane and started connecting the dots. And that turned out to be a really good piece.
Yeah. What medium did that end up being in?
Well, I originally did it as a drawing. And so then I scanned it and I sent it to him. And I don't have Photoshop. But what he can do is he can get the image and turn it into vectors and then inverted the color scheme so that the black lines turned into white lines and the other white turned into black.
Yeah. You can also look at all of the photos on the episode file for this one on theearthhotel.org.
Love some visual aids. So yeah, you see this, that you have the X and Y plane. Originally, this was all encircled by a big square. And so he took all of the lines of the big square out, so you're left with all of the other lines that came from the original intersections of the square.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the y-axis, you have the top and the bottom, and then if you start connecting the lines, the shapes come out.
Right. Are all the intersections here the points that you plotted originally?
Yes. He did highlight them a little with a little digital editing to make them pop more.
Yeah.
But all the intersections are drawn by me, and then they got scanned in. So they are a little manipulated just from the process of it, but they are drawn by me, yes.
Right.
And I use tools. You know, I use a compass and I use a straight edge. I have two straight edges, actually, a ruler and then a triangle.
That was a commission piece. Where did you go from there?
I have a few like side things that I have planned. I have an album cover that I'm going to do for my own band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're the piano player in Cahaba. Tell us about that. That hasn't been news yet.
That's a thing I'm really excited about, to be able to play on a full-length rock and roll record. It's been really fun playing keyboards with this band. I mean, 3 talented guys, some of the most talented guys I've ever known.
Yeah.
And we're excited to put out. It's really good because we've had some change of members and we're trying to show the world who we are.
Yeah.
So
Cobb has been on the show when it was the Montevallo show and then the Earth Hotel. And yeah, at that point they were a 3-piece. And so the drummer has changed.
Oh yeah, Mr. Peter Arabov. Got to give him a shout out.
Are you at liberty to talk about when it's going to be done, or do you have...
We are hoping for January. It's sounding really good.
Yeah. What was the next thing after this album cover?
I mean, I do a lot of things for myself.
Yeah.
It's been a long process, just sort of learning the tricks of the trade and a lot of messing up. Also, I have to say I have muscular dystrophy, so my muscles fatigue. And after a couple of hours, my hand may shift a little bit, and that will
Yeah, there's a cap on how long you can work for.
I remember when I was growing up in school, they would tell us to write 2 pages on something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be doing fine for the first 3/4 of the page. But as soon as I got to the back of the second page, my handwriting would start getting sloppy. And by the end of the page, my arm was physically tired.
Yeah.
If I take it slow, I can extend the amount of time I can draw. And I've noticed it helps to take breaks.
Yeah.
It helps to take a moment, especially for my eyes as well. When I'm looking at a drawing for several hours at about 6 inches away, it causes some eye strain. And you want to keep going, but you have to tell yourself it's going to be better if I take a break.
Yeah, that's the obsessive's adage, I guess.
For sure. Geometry definitely can be an obsession. The more possibilities there are, the more you can do. And so it's almost like an addiction.
Yeah. I'll put this cover back up. Explain what the math that goes behind.
So I like to take simple shapes. You have that outer circle, not the outermost circle, but the second outermost circle, where all the geometry is derived from. You have these concentric circles. See, 1, 2, and then 2 on the top. And then all of these connecting circles. You have the diagonal lines. And then some of them are doubled to create that two-sided line effect. But like I said, I like to take a simple geometric shape and see how many points I can connect. And then once I get to a point, I see, form evolving.
Right.
It becomes its own thing.
Yeah, obviously circles have to be, drawn with a compass and measured.
Yeah, like you can freehand a circle. A lot of artists do. And it's not easy to use a compass in some instances. With a pen, if you go at the wrong speed, it will make the ink shorter and or thicker.
Right.
So you have to control your speed to get an even line for a circle.
Yeah.
Like you notice with this, some of the lines are thicker on one side and thinner on the other. And this was about a year or more ago.
Very interesting. You've been kind of documenting this as you go. You post a lot of stuff on Facebook. And
yes.
Stuff that you mess up and, I messed this one up. And everybody's like, where?
Yeah.
But it's so precise that one line astray.
So with this one, it was going really great. But then I decided to try to connect this sort of diamond shape here. Mm-hmm. I was doing that all the way around, and I'd gotten to that line, and my hand slipped. And then I went and tried to cover it up.
And it's just a little darker than...
Then it's just a little darker. I mean, most of it is almost perfect. Perfection is one of those things that you have to come to terms with. Maybe it's never going to be perfect, but it's still something you try to, I don't know. It's a goal that you sort of see how far you can take it. It's like a limit.
Right.
And like with calculus, you find a limit how far you can go.
Yeah, it's an accuracy, but an accuracy of,
of
what?
You're trying to get to a certain level, I guess, or I am.
Oh, you experiment musically.
Yes, that's another hobby of mine. I am very informal sometimes with my music. I like to work with simple progressions, simple 2-note patterns that I'll sometimes build melodies off of. Simple 4-chord progressions. I've been getting more advanced as of recent with more practice and playing with the band and looking into different musical ideas. Just getting better all the time.
You're not a task-driven musician, really.
No,
I'm following your own.
Yeah,
just what you want. Could I make this sound that I want to hear? Could I get this thing down so I could hear myself make this?
Right. And I oftentimes don't care about lyrics. Yes, I mean I could, and I sometimes do make lyrics, and it could be more of a thing. But I just am very passionate about vibrations. Mm-hmm. I love them. So
the stuff.
I'd just rather be behind the scenes, making the clicks and the things. That's what I like.
So you were speaking of the benefit of expression.
Yeah,
you sold a piece like a month ago at an auction.
Right. Yeah, that was for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Mm-hmm. They had contacted me and we're putting on this event, and they wanted me to draw a piece, and so I drew one, and I knew going into it that I wasn't going to get any money for it, but I was okay with it. Because I think it's a really good cause. So I made up the piece and I brought it over to them, and they really loved it. These two ladies who were working in the office, and I set it down on the table. She goes, okay, we'll get this wrapped up so that it can be safe. And she brings out the parchment paper and she puts it in there and she folds the paper over. And then I see my drawing curving over, and I'm like, no, stop. And luckily, I made her stop, before my drawing got damaged.
Right.
There are just a few things you need to know before you handle artistic things.
Yeah.
Don't bend the paper too much so that it creases. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. Look at this new drawing I did. Yeah, let me.
Right. Yeah. No, I was scared. She actually picked it up and she was good about it, but there is always that potential.
Yeah.
You see somebody's thumb press into it in the back, and you're going,
That cannot be undone.
But it was good. It got framed, and I went to the event, and it was very hoity-toity. There were, tables with gifts, a silent auction thing. But I got to see my art up on a display table with a bunch of other local artists. And there were ladies that were running around fighting over my piece. I got to see them checking their cell phones to bid, and it was heartwarming to see people come up and appreciate something that I had done.
Right.
Yeah.
More so than a cruise or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come donate by getting this cruise to the Bahamas. Yeah, go get drunk. Okay.
We all want to get drunk on a beach.
I mean, I like to get drunk, but it's kind of come on, get a cool piece of art to put in your house.
And then get drunk and look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also help somebody out doing it. It's a win-win-win.
Right.
But my drawing ended up selling for $275.
Wow.
And all of that went towards MDA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just take that and say, I sold it to an organization. Take one of your drawings to an art gallery. Oh, have you sold anything before? Yeah, I sold it to an organization. I got $275 for a piece.
You are pulling the words right out of my mouth, Jackie.
Silent auction doesn't even have to touch that conversation. The time is valuable. The whole things.
The expectation that you should work for free does become, it's I'm willing to work for free sometimes, depending on the context. But if you expect me to work for free always,
but on the converse of that, musicians are not highly demanded.
No. Well, I think the demand is being filled through other means at this point.
Even without social media or whatever, there's just so many bands. You can never even find all of the bands. You don't even listen to their material.
Yeah.
You couldn't even catalog just all the bands that
it's theoretically impossible.
Yeah.
Yes.
If anybody, if anybody listens to me, that's cool.
And I'm grateful.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time because you only got so much of it. So I'm glad you spent some of it with me.
Sure.
Kind of deal.
I have another one I can talk about.
Yeah.
So one I drew this out. I really liked it. It had a lot of nice lines. And then I'd put these sort of diamond shapes in there. And then I curved it. I curved it into a U shape. And then I took my iPhone, snapped a photo through the center of the hole facing you so that you see into the drawing. Mm-hmm. The back hole sort of blacked out where it became like a black hole. The straight lines curved upwards and it became its own form. And I noticed a lot of shapes in it. I inverted the colors and then I changed the color scheme to be blue.
Yeah, so the black hole at the end is now this weird, bright alien egg baby thing.
I had gotten a lot of comments on it because everybody sees something different in my art. I see a crow in this. My friend sees vaginas in it.
I was going to say the image on your computer is called Blue Hole.
Yeah.
You can't find that on the internet. Don't go trying to look for that on the internet because it's only on his computer. But we will put that up on the show. What's the last thing that you did? What's the most recent thing that you've finished that you're satisfied with?
It's actually over there, but it's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the drawing, the black and white, and then the digital edit.
Yeah.
It's a big eye made of lines that are connected with concentric triangles. Do it all the way around, and then I left the last 2 points out, so it creates the negative where it's not there.
Yeah, kind of a gap in the spokes thing.
And I was like, holy crap, it's looking at me.
Yeah, but is there a particular reason you chose that angle to...
I didn't choose it. It evolved from the process of it. I was connecting them all the way around.
Oh, so that was just the last one?
Yeah.
Huh,
and I looked at it and I said, oh, it looks like it's looking at me, and it even has the light in the eye.
Yeah. Wow.
But I really like it because when you look at the piece, it radiates. And
it kind of spins on you.
Yeah. And so it's a form of... Think about it like being kinetic energy. It's sort of, it's a still image, but when you look at it, it starts moving to your eye. I like to take these shapes, and when somebody looks at them, their brain interprets it a certain way. I get asked, do you color all your things in? And I have to say yes and no. Sometimes I like to color things in because it gives it a certain context. But when you leave things black and white, different people are going to make different things of those lines.
Right.
And
they put their emotions on
that. Or
Yeah.
even they'll see multiple things in the same piece.
Right.
You know what I mean? You look at it one way, it looks like there's jet planes. Or if you look at it another way, there's foxes in it.
Yeah, and those all have different emotional things connected to them.
Sure.
So can you explain what sacred geometry means? Because people hear that
I have a little spiel I like to give about it. So humans have been experimenting with lines and math forever. Like, we've been doing it a long time. Sacred geometry comes from certain shapes that they found back in the day that you could make the platonic solids with. So a lot of people take it to a very spiritual, almost religious level.
Yeah.
And I agree with some of it. How you see math in shells, the Fibonacci sequence, you see it everywhere.
Yeah, there's something fundamental.
Right. And that's all well and true and good,
Yeah.
but it somewhat becomes too pervasive. And I like to take a step back from it and go, it's really just about the geometry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, our brains respond to this, but it doesn't imbue that thing with power.
Right.
It's a reaction. The mysteries of the universe, that's
Right,
us.
right.
Yeah.
So with sacred geometry, you have these mathematical concepts. Like, you take a circle made with a compass, you would have a center point, and you would have the outside line, and therefore you have a radius. Put a compass needle on, say, a point on the circle, right? And the pencil goes to the center point of your first circle, and you draw another circle. And then if you connect where those two circles intersect, it makes a line, and that line is half the radius of the first circle. You can custom measure your circles to be whatever you want in your piece, and a lot of times you can end up deriving your distances from where you put your compass.
Right. The relationships are the whole art.
Yeah.
It doesn't just emphasize, the bunny is standing this close to the tree and that creates depth or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all relationships, the whole thing.
It is.
Yeah. That's a little vague, but I'm okay with it.
So with this guy, you have 8 major circles, and then the lines are connected. I connected some of them.
And all the circles pass through, at some point, the center point of another circle.
Exactly. And so all those intersections, you can connect those to create straight lines.
So you're connecting these, what would be the vertical line, the center line here. And then from that, you can use that to connect the other axis and make this diamond.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Somebody will say, how do you create this? Like, where do you get your ideas from? The ideas come from the shapes themselves and what I do with them.
Yeah.
It depends. I think that's one of the beautiful things about math is that it can be in there without you trying to put it in there.
Right.
And it can also exist in the way the viewer views the piece, with the light bouncing and your distance to the piece. There are some applications there for the golden ratio too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do this.
I do.
And you play for Cahaba.
I do.
And you pretty industriously work around ideas and...
I'm a brainstormer.
Yeah.
One of my favorite authors, Neil Gaiman, he says, boredom's a good thing. I embrace boredom. Because with boredom, you can go, what if maybe a goldfish jumped out of its, bowl and then started speaking or did this? And so it takes you down an avenue that you otherwise would not have gone down.
Right.
And then so you use that. He's a creative writer, so he turns them into stories.
Right.
I take these mathematical concepts and turn them into geometric pieces. Try to find one I did with my friend Schoolie. We had this idea for an alien that was going to be indulging in some certain plant spirits.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean. And so,
No.
oh, maybe not. Okay.
on.
Oh, anyway, so he drew the form of the alien, the outermost edge of the shape, and then he gave it to me, and he said, just connect some lines wherever you want. Do what you want. I looked at it, and I go, what if I just used the shape of the paper to make the design? So I measured the paper, its length and its width. I derived the midpoints, and from that I built this center X and Y axis. And that gave me a center point. And from that center point, I built a circle, which you can maybe see in it. It sort of curves around. And then I built a diamond that connects from all of those midpoints on each side. It comes down to the bottom too, but you can't see it because of the alien. And then all the other lines in it are derived from all of those intersections.
So he's going to supply the alien.
Yes, he's already gotten most of it done at this point. He's just got to do some fine detailing work, and he's going to darken up some of my shapes to make it look a little more defined, and possibly put a few little alien like symbols in it.
Yeah.
But that'll be coming out soon.
Cool.
It's going to be a poster, actually, so there will be multiple copies available.
Cool.
We're going to try to make a thing of it.
Is he going to sell those, or are you going to each?
Well, we're both.
split 'em?
It's just a collaboration, so we're probably just going to split.
Yeah.
However, that's going to work. Yep.
Cool. On the earthhotel.org, I'll put up a page under art from the show. You can look into that heading and find a few things by Kyle.
For the cheap. Yeah, because I need to eat sandwiches.
Yeah, help a local artist out by making it financially feasible to do art.
I try to exist on inspiration alone, but inspiration is diet. No calories, gives you cancer. It's not good to feed me.
And yeah, Schooley's been a silent friend of the podcast for a long time.
I love Mr. Schooley.
Yeah. I guess January, February of last year, when I was living on Green Springs, we had that art show.
Yeah, I remember
At
that.
the salon, yeah. It was an Earth Hotel event, but it wasn't a podcast thing. So maybe one day you'll hear from Mr. Schooley.
I remember doing that event where he had some of his pieces up and I played keyboard.
Yeah. Very disjointed, well-meaning, but
Yeah.
a weird time.
It was.
Yeah. We've been treading the same ground for a little bit, and I'm excited to see where it goes once we all kind of lock in.
Yeah. I'm ready to see the local music scene get some more promotion. A lot of bands from the state do not make it.
Yeah.
Or they'll make it to some point, and then anything else is, seemingly beyond reach. We're planning on branching out. Only so many times you can ask your friends to come out,
Yeah.
and you want different groups to hear your work, and we're trying to get some, like a good fan base going. We played Florence. Florence is great, actually. I've played Florence 2 times, and both shows, the audience eats it up. They get into, they dance, they hoot and holler, they'll clap. It's great.
Y'all did the end, and where else?
Underground. It's like a record store, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was loud in there too, because it's like a long hallway almost. Sound really reverberated.
Yeah. No, the end, I've played the end before, and that's really great. If there's demand for it, if you give somewhere to go, or, like a Montevallo has Eclipse, people go.
Sure.
There's not a cover. The atmosphere's fine.
Yeah.
If you give people the opportunity, they're going to want to take it. It's hard for an artist, man. Because you can't count on, I've got plenty of friends like Raquel Duplin that puts on the punk rock flea market, go to the punk rock flea market and support her and all that stuff. She goes to shows locally to support the scene. There are so many bands that she likes and wants to see, but if she goes to a show with a really good opener that she didn't expect, she's going to buy the most expensive thing that they have. Even if she's never going to listen to that vinyl again, she's going to buy it because that's her participation.
Sure.
Besides planning events and making merch for people and doing all this stuff, that's her engagement.
I was wanting to talk about wanting to do coloring pages for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to color, hit me up because I can do any level of detail, geometric piece that you want. Really simple shapes or, complex. For cheaper, I can do like a simple sketch paper that's pretty soft or a watercolor that's more firm. But
These are all commission-based things. You don't have any prepared?
Not prepared per se, but I do have forms that I like to use.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can produce them quickly, but I just have to be sure there's demand for them. I'm just trying to get the word out, like fishing, put your lure out there.
Can people friend you on Facebook?
They can.
Okay.
They are more than welcome to.
Kyle Weems. And do you want to put your SoundCloud up?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and my Imager too. Some of my Imager has a lot of my pieces.
If you want to hear examples of Kyle's work as far as like the Earth Hotel goes, he's on the Montevallo Music Podcast album on my Bandcamp page, jackiecotillard.bandcamp.com. You can hear him play keyboards. You do a guitar piece. He was on episode 4 of the Montevallo Music Podcast talking with a bunch of us after a show he played where we recorded that song. And he'll be back with Cahaba.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got more things on the horizon for this next year. I've been experimenting this winter with new sounds, and I got a new amp that I'm working with that's given me a lot more potential with the sound I can produce.
Yeah.
This new pedal I'm excited about, Mr. Ryan Brown gave me, a Vox Stomp Lab. It's actually for bass, but I use it for keyboard.
It adds some kick in that keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
Add some fuzz and some, like a Hammond effect.
Yeah, which it's hard to get a good organ on keyboard and
Yeah.
put it on stage, but
Well, it's like
it does it.
with certain keyboards, they just give you this sound. It's like you got what you got.
Hmm.
You know, there's no drawbars. There's no.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep everybody informed of your ventures and of Cahaba, and we'll have you guys on soon.
Make art. Make lots of art.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make art. Everybody in the
you're
whole
right.
world make art.
You're right.
And then we'll just all starve to death at once.
If we're all in it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
If your child is stuck in a blizzard and is in urgent need of supplies, medical supplies, Band-Aids, gauze, homework supplies like pencils and paper, soaps and shampoos, toilet plungers if you need those. This is one of the only places you can find guitar strings in Montevallo that's not Hoover or Birmingham. Yep, in Montevallo, Alabama, there's a little place called Smitherman's Pharmacy. It's a family-owned business that's been serving Montevallo for a long time. You should shop with them instead of the CVS across the street from them, because fuck those people. The CVS, rather. 703 Main Street, Montevallo, Alabama, 205-665-2574. Play that number back for me. That's 205-665-2574. Tell me Earth Hotel Podcast sent you. Wasn't that grand? Oh, what a good conversation. And also check out It Was the Sun, the act that Kyle and I talked about. Ground Glass is the name of the album. Kyle Weems did the album art for that one, and apparently that guy's still making music. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to Kyle talk about his art. Go find him online and support him. It's all really good stuff from here. We'll close with a collaborative piece. Kyle improvised, I went on and improvised one thing. About 3/4 of the way through, I had a short in a laptop battery that later caught fire. This was the same night that I went to disco, so I had to kind of chop up the end. But it came out as a really interesting little piece. It's called Around Now Corners. Here's Around Now Corners, and I'll see you next week with the Dizzy.